Jungkook's fingers were stained with pollen and ink, the soft scent of lilies mixing with the crisp edge of his fading tattoos. The little flower shop on the corner of Ham River Street was his sanctuary, a quiet place away from past heartbreaks and broken promises. And then he walked in. Tall, sharp in a tailored black suit, and eyes cold enough to make the petals curl back in defense, Kim Taehyung, CEO of one of the largest real estate firms in Seoul, and the last person Jungkook ever expected to see in his little world of stems and silk ribbons. "Are you the owner?" the man asked, voice deep and steady. Jungkook blinked. "Yeah. Can I help you?" "I need flowers for a funeral," Taehyung said flatly. "Something simple." "No lilies." Jungkook's breath hitched slightly. He didn't ask why. He knew that tone too well, grief hidden behind walls built high with pride. As Jungkook turned to gather a few white orchids and muted eucalyptus, he felt that stare burn into the back of his neck. It lingered too long, like the ghost of a touch never given. "You have ink," Taehyung murmured. Jungkook glanced at him, lips quirking with a wry smile. "You sound surprised." Taehyung tilted his head. "You don't look like someone who runs a flower shop, and you don't look like someone who knows how to grieve properly." The silence between them thickened, the kind that didn't beg to be broken, just acknowledged. And that's how it started. A flower for the dead. A glance that lingered. And two men who had more scars in common than they realized. Taehyung didn't know why he walked into that flower shop that day. His secretary had given him a list of recommended florists, all fancy and perfectly polished, yet he ended up in a modest little space with peeling white walls and a tattooed florist who looked like he'd once been broken and somehow made beauty out of the pieces. He sat in the black luxury car now, fingers resting against the orchid box on his lap, and his mind still on him. Jian Jungkook, the receipt had read in neat cursive. Taehyung remembered the slight tremor in Jungkook's hands when he wrapped the stems. The way his eyes flicked to Taehyung's reflection in the shop mirror, like he was trying to memorize a ghost. He should have forgotten him. But he didn't. A week later Jungkook didn't expect to see the man again. Business was steady, weddings, apologies, birthdays. But his mind kept going back to the sharp cheekbones, the soft growl of that voice, the cold eyes that lingered too long. So when the bell above his shop rang and he turned around to see him again, standing tall in a beige overcoat, Jungkook dropped the scissors from his hand. "Back already?" Jungkook asked, recovering quickly, hiding the twitch in his jaw. "I need something, for a new office," Taehyung said, stepping in. "You do arrangements for corporate spaces, don't you?" Jungkook crossed his arms. "You're a CEO. You could have hired anyone." "Why me?" Taehyung met his eyes. "You're not afraid to talk back," Jungkook laughed, breathless and bitter. "Is that all it takes to impress a man like you?" Taehyung didn't smile. He stepped closer, eyes flicking down to the black ink on Jungkook's collarbone that peeked from his loose t-shirt. "No. But it's a start." Jungkook swallowed, heart thudding just a bit too loud. "You're flirting with your florist now, Mr. Kim?" Taehyung's voice dropped an octave. "Only if he lets me." The air between them buzzed, thick with tension that neither dared to name. Jungkook turned away, fingers curling around a stem of red amaryllis. "I'll have the arrangement ready by tomorrow." Taehyung didn't leave immediately. He stood in silence for a moment longer, then finally turned toward the door. Just before stepping out, he paused. "You're different from what I expected, Jian Jungkook." Jungkook didn't look up. "So are you?" Jungkook stayed up late that night. The shop was closed. The lights dimmed. But his hands didn't stop moving. He arranged crimson dahlias, deep green foliage, and black calla lilies with deliberate care. Every stem was precise. Every ribbon tied with quiet rage. Why did it bother him? That look in Taehyung's eyes? That he didn't just order flowers and leave like any other customer? No, Kim Taehyung lingered. He watched. He spoke like he knew Jungkook's silence wasn't emptiness, but restraint. And Jungkook hated that it felt like being seen. The next morning, Taehyung's driver came to pick up the arrangement. Jungkook thought that would be the end of it. Thought the man would get what he wanted and disappear. But he didn't. Instead, just before closing, the bell above the shop rang again. And this time, Taehyung wasn't wearing a suit. He was in a loose knit sweater, sleeves rolled to the elbow, and his hair slightly tousled like he'd run his fingers through it one too many times. Jungkook looked up from behind the counter, blinking once. "You've got a thing for dramatic entrances, don't you?" Taehyung leaned on the counter, one hand in his coat pocket. "Do you always talk like that to clients?" Jungkook leaned back against the wall. "Only the ones who come back without needing flowers." Taehyung's mouth curved just slightly. "Maybe I needed something else." Jungkook's chest tightened. He hated how easy it was for Taehyung to get under his skin. "You don't even like flowers, do you?" he said after a beat. Taehyung's eyes flicked toward a small pot of blooming anemones near the window. "I don't know. I never stopped to think about it." Jungkook nodded, his voice softer this time. "Yeah, that sounds like something someone like you would say." Taehyung didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice dropped low. "And what do you think someone like me is?" Jungkook swallowed, looking down at his inked hands. "You look like a man who keeps his grief in a vault, locks it tight, and throws away the key." Taehyung's throat bobbed. "And you," he said quietly, "look like someone who once loved so hard, it nearly killed you." The silence that followed wasn't heavy, it was honest. Fragile. Then Taehyung asked, "Would you have dinner with me?" Jungkook blinked. "Is that how you asked people out?" After analyzing their trauma, Taehyung didn't flinch. "Only the ones who matter." Jungkook let out a short laugh. "You don't even know me." Taehyung stepped back slowly, his voice calm, final. "Not yet." And just like that, he walked out, leaving behind nothing but the lingering scent of orchids, and the quiet hum of something beginning to bloom in Jungkook's chest. Jungkook hadn't planned to say yes. But somehow, he was standing outside a quiet rooftop restaurant, wind brushing through his hair as he stared at the man who'd unraveled him piece by piece without ever laying a finger on him. Taehyung stood there, waiting, a rare gentleness in his usually unreadable eyes. "Why are you really here?" Taehyung Jungkook asked, voice soft, unsure. Taehyung looked at him for a long time. "Because when I walk into that flower shop, I feel something." Jungkook crossed his arms, defensive. "You feel guilt, I feel alive," Taehyung said. "I've spent years surrounded by people who only look at me for what I can give them. Power. Money. Status. But you," he stepped closer. "You looked at me like I was just a man. Tired. Cold. Lost. And I didn't even have to ask you to see it." Jungkook's throat tightened. "I didn't mean to see it. I know," Taehyung whispered. "That's what makes it real." There was silence. A long, trembling silence. Then Taehyung reached out slowly, fingertips brushing Jungkook's wrist. "You're not just ink and flowers, Jungkook. Your strength and softness all at once. And I want to know what it feels like to be yours. Jungkook's breath hitched. He should have pulled away. He should have guarded what little remained of his heart. But he didn't. Instead, he let Taehyung pull him close. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't polished. It was honest. A little messy. Tasting of raw hope and everything they had both tried to forget. When they broke apart, Taehyung rested his forehead against Jungkook's. "I'm not good at this," he murmured. Jungkook smiled. "Neither am I. Can we try anyway?" Jungkook nodded. "Only if you come to the shop every week." "No excuses," Taehyung chuckled. "Even when I don't need flowers." Jungkook's voice was a whisper now, intimate. "You'll always need me." A year later, the flower shop had a second location, with orchids lining the windows and a photo behind the counter of a man in a suit holding a bouquet he once claimed he didn't like. And somewhere between business calls and fresh stems, Taehyung would pause every so often, staring at Jungkook arranging flowers by the sunlight, and think, "This is what it feels like to come home."